everyone. If I could have your attention, it is 5:30, and we'll call our meeting to order. I do want to remind you, I made an announcement a second ago, but some of you have come in after that. If you wanted to speak this evening, we do have a sign-up sheet here at the podium, and also there are agendas there, so you can grab one of those and kind of follow along with us. Normally at the workshop meeting, and I'll explain that in just a second, we don't normally take public input, but I know a lot of people wanted to speak tonight. So now that our meeting is called to order, I will ask our council members if they are okay with allowing for public input at this meeting. Are y'all good with that?
I am.
Okay. And if you'd like to stay for the meeting, I do want to let you know, again, this is our workshop meeting. We have those meetings on the first Monday of each month. We won't be voting on anything this evening other than our agenda. Tonight is just for discussion purposes and gaining information and getting the details that we need from various department heads and our city manager, maybe our city attorney. And then we vote on the items that we discuss tonight at what I call our regular council meeting, which happens on the third Monday of each month. All of our meetings are publicized on YouTube. They are usually up within about 24, 36 or so hours after the meeting. They are unedited, so if you want to go back and watch anything, or if you know people maybe who couldn't attend the meeting that want to get information, that's a good way to get that. And then also you can access details from the website tifton.net. But our meeting is called to order. We will take public input. We've got, if you've got the agenda in your hand, you'll see we'll approve the agenda. I'm going to then call on Mr. Jack Stone to make a presentation concerning Veterans Park. Following that presentation, then we will take public input. And we'll call on you in the order in which you've been signed up. If you'll look on the back of your agenda for that public input, you'll see the rules of decorum for our council meetings. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to speak during the public comment period. We do ask that all communication be addressed only to the council, not to other people within the audience, just to the council. We'll ask that you are courteous and respectful. Council may or may not ask questions or respond. That's up to each council member. So do please familiarize yourself with that rules of decorum that are there on the back of your agenda. All right, gentlemen, you have the agenda in front of you, and that has been sent to us by our city clerk, Jessica. And so I'll take a motion concerning approval or any changes to the agenda.
Move to approve.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that does carry. All right, the next person I'm going to call on is Mr. Jack Stone. Jack is no stranger to Tifton and Tift County. We named our Veterans Park in honor of him. He has worked for veterans. He has done so much for downtown Tifton. Former owner of the Western Auto, which was an icon in downtown. So Jack is familiar to everybody here, and it's certainly a friend to Tifton. So Jack, I'll let you have the floor because I understand you have something that you'd like to do.
From Ameris Bank told me I need to take my money out of the bank that belonged to the Veterans Park, do something else because it wasn't in use. So first thing I thought about was putting it in my pocket. But then I said, no, there's a lot of use yet for what we need to do. So I know I got to bring it to the city, and I'd love to present this check. I went out and I closed the account out, and I had the bank make the check out to the city of Tifton for the Veterans Park. So
well, that's very kind, and we will proudly accept that. We will proudly accept that, Jack, and we will use that to beautify and maintain and take care of that park. It's a special place for us, especially now that it's been named in your honor, and we greatly appreciate that. You have always been so generous with your time, with your service, and we're just very thankful for you and thankful for that gift to the city for the park.
Would you like to come look at it?
I would love to come look at it.
I've come all the way, so.
I would love to.
You can tell them how much it is, so it'll be public. It's all public.
Let's see. Oh, there's $4.95.
Yeah, that's right.
I should have brought my glasses. Is that $2,800? $2,800. Wow, that's great.
So, I know some things that need to be done at the park and all that. So I figured I said, you know, this is the best place to put it.
That's a great thing. Thank you. There are
And
lots of
thank
things we
you,
need to
thank you,
do.
ma'am.
Well, you all are
I
very
appreciate you
generous.
letting me come.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, Jack.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Larry Lawrence, who's the keeper of the funds for the city. And Larry will make sure that that's in the right place. And I know that Luther will come and pick you up at some point, bring you down and see what we've done.
That's right, that's
So,
right.
okay, thank you, Jack. We
Just
appreciate it so
remember,
much.
we need a cover for the.
It's on order. We've ordered
All
it. Yes, we
right.
have. Hillary has
What
ordered
about
it.
the
So,
sign? The sign been ordered too?
has the sign been you signed? Do you know, Hillary? I don't know. I'll have to check on that. But definitely the cover's been ordered. So
Okay.
we'll make sure we get a new sign out
Thank
there.
you.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay.
Thank you, Gail, for bringing your dad down. Thank you. All right, at this point, we will have our public input. Jessica, you want to grab that for me if you don't mind? I should have grabbed it while I was there. I didn't think. What's that? We can. It's been suggested that we go ahead and do our next item very quickly. It won't take but just a few minutes, and it's also a very important program, proclamation recognizing Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month, and then we'll jump into our meeting. So if y'all will oblige on that, and are you here, who's here to represent? There we are. Okay, I saw you a second ago. Y'all come on down, and we'll get down here at the front. Grab this so that I grabbed this so that we can be heard on our YouTube. There are so many people that work diligently in this community to deal with issues that are challenging and not fun to deal with and not fun to talk about, but it's necessary that we deal with it and we talk about it. And this is part of a joint proclamation that recognizes Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. So we at the City of Tifton are going to be presenting this tonight, and then I understand that Chairman Tony McBrayer will also be signing this, and then that will be presented at the County Commission meeting. We're proud to stand with you jointly as city and county government to make sure that that this horrible thing in our community is addressed and that we reduce these numbers every year. So the joint proclamation says, whereas the City of Tifton and Tift County pride themselves on giving back to the community and contributing to the quality of life among the citizens, and as a part of the national observance of Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month, the Tift County Commission on Children and Youth has organized a public awareness campaign with activities and services necessary to focus on awareness and prevention to eliminate child abuse. And in 2024, approximately 517 children suffered from some form of child abuse or neglect in Tift County. And citizens are encouraged to join together to raise awareness throughout the month of April for those children who have fallen victim to abuse and neglect, giving those abused and neglected children a chance for a safe and positive future through this national effort. And a pinwheel ceremony will be held on April the 4th, 2025 at 10 a.m. to bring awareness to child abuse within our community and encourage initiatives that support healthy and thriving families. Now, therefore, be it jointly proclaimed by the Tift County Board of Commissioners and the City of Tifton that April 2025 be recognized as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month in Tifton and Tift County. And we call upon our community to join in the national effort and the local events scheduled to raise awareness and prevent any future child abuse and neglect. And I have signed it as the mayor of the City of Tifton. Commissioner Chairman Tony McBrayer will be signing at his meeting. So let me present this to you. Thank you so much. And would anybody like to speak about any of the events?
We want to certainly thank the city of Tifton for their support in fighting against child abuse. Children are our most vulnerable victims, that and the elderly. So please continue to help us, and we'll continue the fight. Thank y'all.
Thank you. And the pinwheel ceremony is at the pool, the rec department pool on the corner of 2nd and what's that road? I just drew a blank.
The Ridge?
Ridge.
Ridge.
Is it Ridge?
believe
Yes,
so.
2nd and Ridge. I don't go by street names. I go by things that are on the street. So I said, like, go by the pool and turn. But go to the rec department pool that day. Wear your blue. because that shows your support for child abuse prevention, and stand with all of these good people and then all of our local neighbors and friends to help eradicate this just horrible thing that these children have to go through. But thank you again for all the work that you do. It's greatly appreciated, and we need you, so continue the good work. Thank you. All right, thank y'all for being understanding about that. All right, we have several people who have signed up to speak. What we'll do is I'll call on you if you'll come to the podium here. Make sure that you use the microphone again so that that can be picked up on YouTube. There are cameras in the back of the room that point this way, but there are cameras up here that will point at you. So make sure that you're speaking clearly and loudly so we can pick that up. The first person that has been signed in to speak is Jack Perry. So Jack, I'm going to call on you and come up. You've got 5 minutes. Jessica White, our clerk, is our official timekeeper. So you have the floor, sir. And if you will state your name and address, if you don't mind.
Well, I'm Jack Perry, 2216 Murray Avenue. And I understand that, well, I know that there's a lady 1.5 lots down from my back line is looking after animals, injured animals, and trying to help them get well and all. That's fine and good. I really think that is a great thing to do. But they need to get them out somewhere to where they don't bother me. I've had buzzards to come in and land on my deck's arm rail, sit up on the roof. My next door neighbor, little children, grandchildren, was out in the yard playing basketball, and there's a buzzard wound up in their backyard and chased them in the house. Also, before this lady moved in, another one was there, and I called him before I came to find out if it was true. Well, they came in one day and found a deer in the kitchen eating his dog food. Now, that may be fun for y'all, but it ain't for me. I don't like it. And I've seen the buzzards the last week or two sitting down there on the edge of 22nd Street, sunning. And I've got another neighbor that lives right next door to him, back to him. And my wife was going by the street and looked up on the front porch, little bitty porch, and there was 2 of them sitting on his porch. He don't know about that yet, but he will. I just, it's just hard for me to have those buzzards flying around there. I was raised in the country, and I don't know if any of y'all have ever watched a buzzard eat and what they eat. Well, we used to have people from the city that come out there and throw a carcass out on the side of the road, and that thing was, they had buzzards. It didn't take them long to get there and go to eat. Now, I just don't care for that. Anybody that likes it, wants to help that lady out, how about you going over and getting you a couple of buzzards and take them and let them sit in your yard? Because I do not like it.
Thank you, Jack. The next person that has asked to speak is Paul Von Webb. And again, Paul, when you come to the podium, if you will state your name and address and note here you're from Araby, Georgia. Is that correct? Okay. And again, Jessica is our timekeeper, so Jessica.
Okay. Mayor Smith and Honorable Councilman, my name is Paul Von Webb, and I live at 138 Campsite Road in Araby. I'm in the RV park business and have been for 38 years. I'm originally from Lowndes County and Barron County. That's where I was born and raised. And I bought my first campground in Nashville, Tennessee, and by the time I got to number 7, I was in Kansas City. Was gone from down here for 50 years. And I got a chance to buy Southern RV Park, Southern Gates RV Park at exit 92, about 29 miles from here. And I bought that in 2020. I do have more of a connection to Tifton than you might imagine. All through my 20s and 30s, I was here at the airport every weekend skydiving. I love the city of Tifton. I've seen y'all from 12,500 feet coming at me at 125 miles an hour with 8 pounds of silk to save my life. And as you see, I managed it every time, so I'm still around. Anyway, a deer got orphaned on our street about 6 or 7 months ago, and I saw him the second day. He was near his mother, and I asked him if he needed a friend, and he practically fell into my arms. And after a couple of large bottles of goat's milk, that's how I met Jessica. And I brought him to her, and she raised him to be strong enough to be turned back out into the wild. And I began to visit her and to support her financially. And she runs a neat operation. She's like a mother to these injured animals, and she loves them all, and she does a good job. We recently also, my wife and a young lady that's like a daughter to us, stumbled on a coyote with a broken hind leg, and she's, I think, still rehabilitating that animal. I have seen a couple of buzzards over there. They're pretty playful, but I hadn't seen anybody getting too far out of hand. When I'd go there, she's got them all well contained. I'm not saying that she doesn't fit into a grandfather clause or that y'all can't give her some leniency or a little bit of extra time to get moved. I'll be glad to support her. We have equipment that we'll be glad to bring. I mean, dozers, excavators, trucks, trailers. I'll help her any way I can, including financially. But I think that she should be looked at, in my opinion, as a treasure for the city of Tifton. And we send everybody that comes to our campground down here because we think it's the best city around to shop and that sort of thing. And we love the city of Tifton and Tift County. And a lot of times when people are considering moving to a place, they'll come to our campground and stay and scout out the local area. And their perception of how the people that live in a city are treated by you folks, or what's helped them make a decision to either come here or not come here. We try to screen people that come to our campground and make sure we're getting good people and that we turn good people out into the community. And we highly recommend Tifton, and all we're asking is that she be looked at as a treasure and not as a nuisance, and maybe give her some guidelines on pulling in perimeters or redoing some things or some things like that to give her time that she needs and to know that she's got the support of the community to do what she needs to do. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is Michelle Powers. Michelle, the same thing, I know you spoke at our last meeting. I know you wanted to talk about the mosquito spraying, so
Yes.
name, address, and then you've got the floor.
Michelle Powers, 2205 Davis Avenue. I was at the last meeting discussing the dangers of the mosquito spraying, and you guys graciously agreed to postpone the vote. That night, I asked what chemical, the name of the chemical that would be used. All they knew was adulticide, which is just a vague, it's not the chemical name, there's many adulticides. So the next 2 days later, I called Astro and to ask them. A woman named Rebecca answered the phone. She says she can't answer that question, but she took my name and number. She said she'll have somebody call me back to let me know. To this day, I've never gotten a call back. So that Friday, I came down to City Hall to make an open records request, and they got it to me really quickly. I thank you for that. But I was looking through it, and by law, Astro has to provide material safety data sheet, which they did. But in that, it supports all of my concerns, all the concerns that I had, and then some. And I believe since it was in the open records request, I believe you guys had that information. And that information, it also, another thing that was in there was, I thought it was just a one-time spraying. It's going to be for 8 months, monthly, for a 2-year contract at $3,300 a pop each month. So that equals to $52,800, I believe, if the math is correct. I just think there's a lot more things that money could be spent on. The Veterans Memorial Museum For instance, I heard that it's closing down, and right now, or all the memorabilia of the veterans are in totes. Maybe that money could be used for something like that, or maybe a security guard for the Fullwood Park near the playground for the summer months. But just some things that highlights from the material safety data sheet. And this is from what Astra provided. They know the dangers. This product is extremely toxic to aquatic organisms, including fish and invertebrates. This product is highly toxic to bees exposed to direct treatment on blooming crops or weeds. Under United States regulations, and it's got the thing, hazard communication standard, this product is considered hazardous. Another thing. Material does not meet the criteria of a substance according to United Nations globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals. Harmful if inhaled, cause damage to organs, nervous system, may cause an allergic skin reaction, may be fatal if swallowed and enters airways. And the overall summary on this, sorry, it's not in order, but restricted use pesticide. Due to its environmental risk, Perm-X 44, which is the chemical that will be used, is often considered a restricted use pesticide, meaning its application is tightly regulated. Let's see. Primary concern with Perm-X is its extreme toxicity to fish and other aquatic invertebrates, making it crucial to avoid contaminating water sources when applying it. Permethrin can also be highly toxic to bees, especially when applied directly to crops. Sorry, it's repeated. It was in a couple places in there. And let's see. Handle an open container with care. Avoid release to the environment. Do not breathe dust, vapor, spray mist. Use only in well-ventilated areas. And there's other precautions for the person that's using it. These are all, this is everything that I discussed at the last meeting. I mean, if people are concerned about this, they could spray their own yards, they could use off, they could use Avon Skin So Soft. I don't see why spending all this money for this dangerous chemical, forcing upon people that don't want it. I mean, and the dangers to the wildlife, not just the bees and the bugs and the fish, also it affects the wildlife. Because you're not just killing the mosquitoes, you're wiping out their food. The birds' food, and I can go on and on, but that's it. Anybody else want to know what I said at the last meeting, you could look it up on YouTube for the February 17th meeting. But I'll just ask you, after pointing all this out, please ask yourself if you could really vote yes with a clear conscience. That's all. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Our next person to speak is Melissa Hobbs Brown. I'll call on Melissa. And Melissa, I've got your address. It just says Belmont Avenue. We need your street number.
Okay, I have two. So let's go with 25 Lake Larry Drive. 25 Lake Larry Drive.
And that's Tifton?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Same thing, 5 minutes, so you've got
No
four.
problem. I probably won't go that long, I'm sure. I'm basically here for the same reason that a lot of people are, and that's the rehab center. I have a few issues with the letter that was sent and the definitions of what was sent to her for the zoning problem. From what I understand, she is accused of boarding, caring for, and keeping animals. I have looked at the definition of boarding. The definition of boarding is to serve as a temporary care for a pet that is issued by the owner while they are away. This means to provide shelter, food, care, or whatever is needed for the animal while the owner is absent. That doesn't apply to her. At no point has she ever received money to care for someone else's animal. So the boarding of animals is not an issue. So she has no zoning problem there. My other problem that I have is the caring for. Okay? The definition of caring for is boarding, facilitating, providing food, water, shelter, and professional care so that you may maintain and play and be affectionate and socialize an animal. She's not doing that. At no time has she socialized these animals to be domesticated. There goes caring. Okay, the other violation that she has is keeping. Oops. She doesn't keep them. She rehabs them and she sends them. At no time does she care for them. She rehabs them. Rehabbing means, let me get to my definition of that one. Rehabbing is the issue of helping an injured, sick, orphan, or displaced wild animal with the goal to release them into the natural habitat in which they came from. It involves medical care, temporary housing, and no socialization to domesticate. So if there's no socialization to domesticate, she can't be caring for them. To care for them, they have to be domesticated. So therefore, she's helping them. So I think if we're going to have a zoning problem, I think we're going to have to come up with some more definitions besides boarding, caring, and keeping. That's just my opinion as a layman person that just lives here. Now, as far as the buzzards, you know, I've heard this and that about the buzzards, but since the buzzards are what we call wild animals, correct? They're pretty much wild, right? They're not domesticated. How is this woman able to control where they go, what they do, who they do it with, and when? It is a wild animal. She cannot be faulted for buzzards that are landing on people's porches, houses, whatever. They're wild animals. There's deer that's going to walk in your yard. I have 2 foxes that live in a hole in my front yard. I can't control if they come in and out of that hole. I can't control where they go. It's called wild animals. She is federally and state certified. I agree with the gentleman earlier. She's a treasure. She's not a problem. If there's a problem, then let's look at solutions, which, by the way, we have quite a few. Number 1 is we now have land to release the animals more in their habitat. But there will be, not the word care, that will be needed. It is help that will be needed. It's not boarding that will be needing. It's rehab that we will be needing. It's not keeping. To the best of my knowledge, and for what she's sworn and everyone else has sworn, at no time has she ever kept a wild animal as a pet. So the zoning, to me, unless y'all can produce another zoning for the problem that she has worded
Thank you.
differently.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brown.
I understand. I'm surprised I took it off.
I know, you said you weren't. All right, next, thank you. All right. Next, I'll call on Jessica Piscata, 2201 Hall Avenue. Jessica? Same conditions apply.
My name is Jessica Piscata. I live at 2201 Hall Avenue, Tifton. Is that everything I'm supposed to?
What's that?
Am I supposed to say anything else, or was that it?
That's it, yeah, and then you
Okay.
can, yeah.
All right. My mom's worked hard the last couple of days typing this up for me because I have horrible panic disorder. I definitely work better with animals than I do people. So I'm going to try to let my anxiety. I'd like to start out by saying Happy World Wildlife Day. Probably not ideal. It's a day celebrated every year on March 3rd to spread awareness about protecting animals, plants, and nature. I would like to say to my neighbors that I cannot control wild animals. The wildlife that I work with are contained at all times until their release date in their natural habitat. I have seen many vultures in our area and the location around our new high school. My father lives in that neighborhood. Vultures have been landing there, and they've also been landing on several of my neighbors' homes. They are not coming from my home. They are not vultures that have ever been in care with me. They are coming from Waffle House, which is 2 blocks away, and they're also coming from the Food Line area, but they don't belong to Steadfast or have ever been cared for at Steadfast. I never release in Tift County, like it's either Irwinville at the wildlife management area, or I have private areas in the county, but never in our community, because I'm trying to protect our community from situations that could go wrong with animals. The individual with the deer, that was slightly factual. I do remember that couple. It was a younger couple that lived, I believe, in the same home that they're in now, but they contacted me about that fawn after speaking with the local game warden, and I picked that fawn up from their house, and they were surprised that I lived right there in the neighborhood. They had found that fawn on US Highway 41 North beside its deceased mother. And so that's how that fawn came into care. So when it was in their home before it came into my care, I don't really know if it was eaten. I don't know what was happening, but the animal didn't come from my care it left their care into mine. And I keep documentation of all animals that ever come in. All right, this is what my mom helped me with. Good afternoon, my name is Jessica Limpiscata. I'm the founder of Steadfast Wildlife Rescue. It is a 501c3 nonprofit entity. I'm federally, state, and rabies vector licensed to operate this rescue. My love for wildlife started when I was 15 years old when I found a baby possum. This is the actual photo of Zoe that I found on Fullwood, right there at Fullwood Garden. I found her injured there. She was a juvenile. I searched the Google DNR site for rehabbers that were close to Tifton. I found Lorraine Conklin's name and contacted her. She instructed me on what to do to stabilize the animal. Several days later, I took the possum to her center in Thomasville. This same routine of stabilizing and transporting the animal was repeated many times over the years with countless animals. Lorraine told me that I was umbrellaed, covered under her license to triage, stabilize, and transport wildlife to her at the Androcles Society in Thomasville. I remained umbrellaed and covered under Lorraine's license until I became legally licensed by the state of Georgia on my own when she became ill. Lorraine passed away 2 years ago, December. I then became federally licensed and rabies vector licensed. At the current time, there are only 4 Georgia wildlife rehabilitators that are state, federal, and rabies vector licensed. I'm one of the 4 rehabbers in Georgia. The condensed information contained in the letter that I received from Mr. Wilmot: the property was being utilized for boarding, caring for, and keeping of the animals. And again, the wildlife are not kenneled, boarded, or kept. They are triaged, treated for injuries, and then they're released back into the wild. The property for these purposes is prohibited in a residential zoning district. I was given 30 days, which is not adequate time, unfortunately. We have found land. It is in the county, but it is going to take a little bit more time to actually build these enclosures because they are state and federally inspected enclosures, and I have to build them to protocol, to requirements to make sure that these animals don't get out. That's another way that I am 100% certain that I have not had any animals out, because these enclosures, the federal people come in to inspect them. Also, I do head counts 3 times a day, and if I was missing one, I'd know because I have to keep documentation. The purpose of my attendance at today's meeting is to respectfully request that the city council members please grant me an extension.
Do y'all mind giving Jessica another
And
minute or
then
two?
I can give you this if y'all want to look over it since I'm out of time.
Go ahead and present your extension,
ma'am.
what you can,
I'm
what you're
sorry.
proposing. No, that's okay.
I'm just so nervous.
I understand. I promise, we're,
okay.
we're
Okay.
here to hear what you have to say.
The purpose of my attendance at today's meeting is to respectfully request that the city council members grant an extension of the 30-day deadline currently imposed. The decision of the city council members to grant or to deny the extension of the 30-day deadline will have an impact on our ability to relocate all the animals to another location. The granting of an extension would drastically reduce the possibility that any animals would have to be euthanized to bring the property into compliance with current city ordinances. I want to assure the members of the City Council that Steadfast is making progress. In the last month, several animals have been released back into their natural habitat. Yesterday, we released 3 more animals back into their natural habitat, 2 barred owls and a beaver. However, some of the wildlife species are harder to relocate due to many factors beyond our control. In the past, we would transport to Wildlife St. Francis in Florida, Auburn University in Alabama. It's now illegal to transport any species over state lines. The new laws further limit our options for wildlife relocation. Our available options: Option 1, it has limitations, which is transfer the wildlife from Steadfast to another Georgia state licensed rehabber. And since I'm one of the 4, it's unfortunately, that's really not. Many of them will only accept certain wildlife. Unfortunately, the number of licensed rehabilitators have drastically dwindled in the past few years because they are not funded. They fund theirself. This is the best option. Option 2 is the best option for the wildlife that will be in the future care by Steadfast. It's offering of use of land in the country. This is the best option for wildlife that will be in the care. However, the funds that we have raised so far to be able to start the build at this location, we will not be able to access them for a minimum of 45 days. It may be 50 days before we can get to any of the funds, but because it goes through our nonprofit charity that's regulated with the IRS, then there's no way for me to access them. I've had a few offers for the use of country land and place to relocate the wildlife once I am able to build the enclosures for pre-release. My current board of directors for Steadfast has expressed concerns about all of the offers except for one, which is wonderful, and that's who I've been speaking with. The details of this offer will need to be worked out between the parties involved, which we've been working on. Legal papers will need to be drawn up to protect interests of both parties. The process is going to take a little bit of time. Some of the animals currently in care at Steadfast are still at the pre-release level. They cannot be released into the wild yet. The pre-release enclosures would need to be built on site at the proposed property prior to transporting the animals. The built enclosures are necessary to ensure they are stable and safe for the animals that they contain. Option 3, if we do not receive an extension, our deadline is the 12th of March per the 30 days. All of the animals in care, even the ones that are on the endangered list, will have to be euthanized. This would be a very sad ending for the animals that are so close to being released and have fought so hard to live. I am confident that the City Council members will make the right decision on this matter.
Quick question. All right, I noted here that you needed the 45 days to access the funds. What are you asking for? What time frame are you asking for in your extension? Once you access those funds, I mean, can you be building things and then what do you need to say, everything's cleared and I'm done and this is how much time I need?
Right now, I have the place. We've already taken down the trees. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of trees that have to be pulled from the property, like as far as that are still laying down. But with somebody who runs a nonprofit and doesn't pocket any of the money, like I clean houses, I DoorDash, I paint faces, I take donations for jewelry at festivals. Everything I do to better our ecosystem for the animals. And I don't financially have the money to start building because I was, code enforcement came out about a month ago for me to go in and get a building permit for the new triage room. And so nothing was said then, and we put about $6,000 into this new triage center that is an add-on. And then we ended up going in because it was said about our fence. We had damage from Hurricane Helene, and then we also had damage from the snow that took out a decent portion of our fence. And so we had to, we temporarily fixed it because I do have I have 2 dogs that go out in the backyard and I didn't want them to be able to get out. So we temporarily fixed it. And from my understanding, as long as I made sure the fence was good, everything was okay. So we spent $900 to fix that. And 2 days later, I received the letter. So at that point, we had tapped out all of our funds that we had raised. And the letter also came 2 weeks before baby season hit. And I triage, rehab, and release. Usually it takes I'll have an animal come in from a day and they'll be ready to be released the next day. That's why the whole kenneling and keeping, I can't, it doesn't add up to me. The longest patient that I've ever had was Blinky. He was a barred owl and he was in care for 30 something days and he was released back into the wild. But I don't even know. I can't start building until I can get the funds because I don't have the money to build.
Okay, so we know that's 45 days. Is the money do you have the funds in this separate account that you just can't
No.
access, or you don't have
No.
the funds at all?
I don't have the funds at all, so it's a GoFundMe. Actually, the lady who, she's here, that started the GoFundMe to try to raise money to save Steadfast. I think we've raised around $9,000, which is only 40% of what we'll need to completely relocate. We have to dig a well, we have to get a power pole out there, and then we have to build these enclosures, and state and federal officials have to come out and inspect them before I can put the animals in there.
Do you think it would be reasonable to say that over the next 45 days that you'll be getting more funding? I'm trying to arrive to a number, and what may be best, and Rob, I'm going to have to kind of deflect to you as our city attorney. What may be best is to have you and Rob meet, come up with sort of an outline of a time frame, a plan on when, what the money is and when you can access it and that kind of thing.
Well, when the GoFundMe, so people donate to that, if it's a regular GoFundMe, then I would, like for normal people, they could access it within a few days. But because I'm a 501c3 nonprofit, the money's not going to me and I can't pull it out. It goes directly into the 501c3 nonprofit charity account at the bank. So it will have to go through the GoFundMe, and then once it's there, then it goes to the charity, and then the charity
Can
deposits
use it. Yeah. I will say, and welcome any of our other council members to speak up. There is nobody here that disagrees with the fact that what you do is admirable. There's no question in that. I think you have a big heart for animals, and I think that is commendable. It is amazing. I'm an animal person too, and as you know, I think we all are. I don't think anybody wants to see anything negative or cruel or injury happen to any kind of animal, whether it's a bird or a dog or a vulture or whatever it may be. So please hear that from us. So we do respect what you do at the Wildlife Rescue. I think it's incredibly admirable. And so I want that to be public record that we do agree with that. However, we do have these zoning requirements for what can happen within a residentially zoned area that we have to abide by. And so I think, I don't think anybody here would be opposed to an extension for you. And I think in Rob's letter, I don't have the letter in front of me, but if I remember correctly, one of the last sentences was, if you need more time, please let me know.
Yes, and I
So,
did,
yeah.
and he told me that he could not give that to me, that I would have to
It
come
would be
here.
us, yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
So that's why.
So Rob, what would be the best way to work out a reasonable solution for everybody on this?
That we could do is, if Jessica would like to get with maybe me and Larry,
Mm-hmm.
and we can kind of work out what the timeline would be. Naturally, I appreciate the fact that there's a lot to be done, and there's money to be raised.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe we could schedule a meeting with Jessica, kind of outline, where we are now, where do we need to get to in order to get to a place where she can go ahead and relocate. And then we can address it with council. But I think at this point in time, based upon what Ms. Prescott is saying, certainly we, in my opinion, let's give the time, a reasonable amount of time,
Sure.
in order to accomplish getting her relocated. And again, as I said in my letter, if you need more time, let me know. I'm glad to do whatever I can in order to. And again, it's up to council as far as that amount of time. But I think we need to get some type of schedule, some type of a plan, so that we do have some idea about what's a reasonable amount of time.
Right. Let me ask you this, Jessica. We will be meeting again on the third Monday of the month. I don't have that date in front of me, whatever that date happens to be, but basically 2 weeks. Is it reasonable to request that you and Rob and Larry meet and come up with some outline that could be presented to us by that date so we can act as expeditiously as possible, because we won't be meeting again until then without a special called meeting. And that might give you time to explore funding. I'll throw something out there. I'm not on Facebook or anything like that, but I did get I think it was from the Tiff Terrace neighborhood that the neighbors wanted to be able to help you to get funding to be able to do this, to go to this step, so that you would have the space, you would have the proper place where you could do that.
I haven't had anybody from my
Okay.
neighborhood reach out. They have reached out for me to come and help them with animals within the
Right.
past few days, but nobody to offer.
And
any-
maybe after this meeting, hearing that there is a potential plan in place, maybe that's something that, through your contacts and through the Tiff Terrace neighborhood to say, we're working with Jessica to try to help her relocate with timing and everything. Could you help with funding to get her to that point where she can do that?
So, I think that, so I would say we've managed to do within 30 days, probably 20% of
Sure.
it as far as now.
And I'm not saying that you have to have all the money in by the 17th. I'm not saying that. Just get with Rob to come up with a plan. This is our plan.
Okay.
We need this much money. We can start withdrawing those funds at this date. We need to build 27 pens and 4 cages or whatever it is, and that will take this much time. I think that if that sounds reasonable to the council, and then present that back to us at our next meeting, Rob could, with the dates and the plan and everything. I think that would give us some time to kind of breathe and for you to continue working on that plan. And we're certainly receptive to working with you. I don't want you to walk out tonight not hearing that. We are somewhat confined, though, with how long we can work. So
Would 5 months, would that be too long for it
I-
all to be completed?
I would think so, yeah.
So 3 months, is that too long? That's that. About really, that's none of your business, to be honest. I mean, I'm being respectful, but you're obviously not very happy about me being here. I can tell by the way you just look. So that's really I don't feel like I should disclose that. That's state and federal, but there's under 30 animals.
Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's have you, and if you have a representative, I don't know if you have an attorney or whatever, that's certainly fine to include that person, with Rob and Larry, and let's get that meeting scheduled as quickly as possible, and present the plan. Rob can kind of, if you don't have an attorney representative, or if you want to bring someone with you, because I know it can be unnerving if you want to bring a friend or associate to talk with them.
Yes, ma'am.
And let's see what your proposal is. And but we do need to move quickly. We've received quite a few emails from neighbors who have shared experiences, things that they're upset about, and even things like that you can't quite put your fingers on, like that there's an odor and various
But there's
things.
not. If there was, then code enforcement would have smelled it when they were at the house.
Yeah.
Also, I did do the open records.
Mhm.
And I only saw one official complaint that was made, and it was made 7 days after the letter came out.
I've got lots of. I printed out the emails in case.
Could
we
I
need
have a
them.
copy of those since it was open record?
Yeah, if
or-
you'll go, it has to go through open, anytime you're dealing with government, you have to go through the open records. We have to keep a record of everything that we do. But yes, I can forward those to Jessica.
I did do the open record last week,
Uh-huh.
but I received one complaint.
Yeah, we've actually received several. But if you'll go through Jessica, our city clerk, Jessica White, and just because we're a government, that's how way we have to do it. If you were calling my business and saying, can you forward me that email, I could say yes, but
Was
because
there
it's
an-
government's open records.
I'm sorry, is there another process that I should have gone through than the
No,
open
you did just
records?
right. You did just right. And the way that open records were, everything we do is subject to open records because it's the government. It's not private industry and business. And I guess Rob could address this too. Generally, the government has 3 days to respond, excluding weekends and holidays. So if your open records request was made on Monday, then there's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then by Thursday, you should be receiving, what we have. It's hard, there's no way to really document open records as it comes to phone calls, that kind of thing, or someone's passing you and, you meet someone in Publix and they say, hey, I need to talk to you about something. We don't document that per se. But I can assure you that everything that we have will be provided to you. Sometimes those emails may just come to us as the council. They may not necessarily go to Jessica, so she's not necessarily aware of them, but I will make sure that she has copies of those emails. But if you could get with Rob, I think that 5 months, like Michael said, is a bit too much.
Right.
90 days might be a bit too much, but if
3
you've got a strong plan that, that
So 3 months will be too long to move a 22-year operation that everybody has been okay with?
well, let's, I'm not saying yes or no, because it's up to, I'm one vote. So, let's get with Rob, present your best plan. And let's, Rob and Larry Lawrence is our acting city manager, interim city manager. And let's look at the plan. Let's go through everything. Let's review it. And Rob, if you can get that done by the 17th, you said is our next meeting. I'm not looking at a calendar.
I'll try to get it done as soon as we can.
Okay. And then let's go from there. We're certainly willing to do that. I don't think anybody here, if we were voting tonight, I don't think anybody here would say, no, we're not going to offer you an extension. I think the right thing to do is to do that. I know that what you do is difficult, and it does take a lot of time. It's not just load the back of the car and move to somewhere else. So we're very willing to consider all options, to hear you out. If you'll just go ahead and make an appointment maybe tomorrow with Rob, and let's get that started. And then
As a member, may I ask something, because I'm sure there's going to be some questions. You're saying that 90 days is a little bit too much, but now would she possibly be allowed to do the triaging still in the area that was zoned or code enforced approved for triaging?
that would be a question we'd have, put that in your plan if that's something that's important to you, and let's
The
look at
90
it.
days is really short. I understand it's a long time for y'all, but considering they're really, we haven't seen any proof of an animal doing any kind of damage to anyone or anything that come from her.
Okay,
know.
well, let's get with Rob. Again, there's a lot of what
Okay.
ifs. What if,
Okay.
and I can't answer that right now until we have that plan.
We're just
So-
trying to do, I'm just
Oh, I know.
trying to clarify so that when we're
Sure.
sitting in this meeting, we can all get ourselves back
Exactly.
together and understand that, 90 days they're not willing to do. What do we need to do with these
Yeah.
animals? And we know what our option is. And so we're
And
just,
if, and I will say this, and then we'll move on, because there's several other people that would like to speak.
correct.
If you say we need 120 days, then put in the plan, and this is why we need those days.
Okay, that's
Understand
what I
I'm
was
saying?
looking for. That's what I was looking for.
So
That's why
look
I
at
kinda
that.
wanted
I
to
can't
clarify.
guarantee that will, but it begins a negotiation on what
Correct.
would be mutually agreeable to the neighbors that do want us to see something happen very quickly.
Correct.
And what Jessica's doing with her rehab. So we're very willing to have that conversation. It's got to be reasonable, acceptable to all. And, with negotiations,
Well, I
you
don't
kinda-
think we're being unreasonable. We're not fighting
I
the
understand.
zone.
I understand.
We could go through trying to fight the zone for the purposes that I just mentioned, which are, it's not really
Yeah. Well,
worded correctly,
get-
but we're not fighting any of
Yeah,
that.
well, let's
We
get-
are all, I think, on the same page, but I want to make sure we are all on the same page.
Right.
That we are going to try not to have any animals euthanized because of something that's happened within 30 days.
Sure. Well, let's get with Rob this week, and get your plan. And if you could, again, it will help us to understand, to explain, this is why we need X amount of time. This is how much this is going to cost. This is what we need to do, so that we're clear on it. so that we can look at that and make a comprehensive evaluation for all parties involved. Because not only do we have to look at this, we have to consider the concerns of those who have registered complaints or have called or, you know, whatever. And so.
But I'm not understanding where the proof is of and we're not debating that. We're not arguing that at this point is what I'm trying to explain to you. You know, we do not want to be where we're not wanted. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so.
But at the same time, you can't take a nonprofit organization and do like she said, drop $100,000 into a building, into fences, into all of that that's taken 30 years to build.
Right.
You can't do that in even 90 days.
Okay, well, put that plan together and
Okay.
get with Rob, and that's
Okay.
our start.
Okay.
Okay, y'all go with that? Okay, do
Okay, so we're
that.
all open to at least
Looking
to
at
the-
the plan. Let's look
Okay.
at the plan. We need to know the days, we need to know the why, we need to know the how,
Got
the
it.
when, all of that.
Okay, so
And-
you need a
and-
basic business plan, and we can do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's a
We
good
can
way
do
to put
that,
it.
not a problem.
Okay, all right.
Thank
perfect.
you.
All right, thank you. All right, there's still several people that have signed up to speak. After the discussion that we've just had, do y'all still want to speak? You're certainly welcome to. You've signed up to speak. I have Alicia Story from Valdosta. I have Weta Carnes, who has not given an address, and Candace Jones with no address. Did you ladies still want to speak? You're certainly welcome to. You want to speak? Okay. I'll call on Alicia Story from 104 South Ashley Street in Valdosta.
Hi, I'm Alicia Story. I actually live in Moultrie, but I work in Valdosta at a law office. And I've been working at first I was working with domestics a lot and help transporting. And then last couple of years I started helping with the wildlife. I want to address the buzzards, vultures. Have you ever seen a vulture attack a person or do anything to a person unless they're dead? No, you haven't. They maybe look scary, and yeah, when I was growing up, you saw the buzzards circling, you knew there was something dead, but you're not scared of them. I mean, I'm scared of spiders. I want to put this in your head when we are doing the business plan. The triage room. We have baby season. We're amongst it now, and it's fixing to get really, really busy. Squirrels fall out of the nest, and I've seen them hit concrete. And I really didn't think they'd survive. But she's Miss Doolittle. She talks to them. They come back to life, and then they're released. Not in the city. It's Tift County or Colquitt County, anywhere, but it's not in the city. I understand the zoning for residential for some things. There's no smell. There's no, they don't get out and go and do anything. And in the opens records, we would like to see police reports if you have that, which he mentioned on television. I want to see those. And, let's address that. How did that happen so we can fix it? With the triage room, I would love to see that people, the way she's got it is that they'll come in the driveway, and there's a door there, and she will have the intake there. And then there's a back door for the pre-release that she can go in and out. It already has electricity and air and HVAC, and it's going to have a restroom, kitchen. And we need that there in the city because she needs to be there. She has to hand feed these babies. And then once these babies get a little bit older, yes, take it to the pre-release out there. But I would like to see that at least, because there's nowhere out there. I mean, we'd have to raise a lot more money to get a triage out there, and then she would have to live out there. We could build her a tiny house, which leads me to my next thing. Is there any way that Tift County or City of Tifton can help with some fundraisers to help her? Is there anything?
I don't know. We haven't looked at that, so I don't know.
I mean, maybe everybody knows somebody with some money that they don't know what to do with, right? Maybe the neighbors could help. Maybe the rich one that's behind her who complains. I mean, help her.
Okay. Thank you.
But, and I'll help her with the business plan as well. And I think that's it.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right. Weta Carnes. Ms. Carnes, if you don't mind, give me your address because you didn't fill it in here.
It's 1408 Sutton Circle.
Is that Tifton?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm kind of nervous, so. First off, Jess, I love you. She is a big asset to Tifton. I call her the real Pocahontas because that's what she is. If 30 days is too much time, is there any way that we can do some city fundraising to help her get out faster? Or like somehow do something like get Short and Polk to donate wood, staples, screws?
I think that would certainly be up to the group to, you can certainly do a fundraiser, that's no problem, and go to any businesses, so, absolutely, you could certainly do that.
Okay. Like she stated before, she does a head count 3, sometimes more a day. She has to have documents for that, but nothing has gotten out. They're all in enclosures and cages and stuff, so I don't see where they've gotten out. She gets up every night, checks on them multiple times a night. Whenever she gets a call, she gets up, goes. She teaches people about wildlife, so like I said, she is a big asset, and it's going to take more than 30 days to, get it moved, unless she has people behind her financially. But I think she's doing a wonderful job. But I think we need to pull together as a community and help her like she helps us. But that's all I got to say.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, and then I have Candace Jones, and Candace, I'll need your address too, it's not on the sign-up sheet here.
Candace Jones, 102 Chrissy Lane, Americus, Georgia.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I want to speak on Jessica's behalf because I have known her for several years now. I see the love and compassion she has for wildlife that many deem worthless or not worth saving. Jessica pours her heart and soul into every animal that is brought into her rescue. She goes out all hours of the day and night to rescue sick, orphaned, injured animals. People from all over call on her, and many from this very city that are now standing behind this zoning issue have even called on her. She works multiple jobs to continue funding her rescue, since she is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that receives no state or federal funding. She also does fundraisers to raise money for the food and care for these animals. Her hard work and dedication are often taken for granted. She has worked hard over the years with all her licensing, multiple inspections from DNR with no issues, and even a recent visit from Tifton's Code Enforcement to approve the addition to her home for a triage unit. This proves they knew she was doing this in her home, and yet she had no issues. In over 20 years of her doing this, there have been no complaints that have caused such to be brought against her until now. It absolutely makes no sense. What many fail to realize is that licensed Georgia wildlife rehabbers are few and far between. Those licensed to take in rabies vector species are even more scarce in our state. There are 7 listed online for the entire state of Georgia. 4 of those are veterinarians. She's the only one with the RVS certification in Southwest Georgia. She's desperately needed for these animals to get their second chance at life. And right now it's baby season. Without her, many innocent babies will die. She works hard around the clock, rescuing, nursing them back to health, and preparing them for their return to the natural habitat in the wild. She's currently working with someone to build new pre-release enclosures on land so that they can be moved there once they are healed and ready for this return. This is not a move that can be done quickly. due to funding as well as the well-being of the animals. All they know is her and the volunteers that help her. If they're forced into cages, moved too quickly, many will panic, hurt themselves, further setting them back from a safe release. This is something that has to be calmly and done in due time, but not in haste. I'm begging you to please give Jessica more time to prepare the land, the enclosures, herself, and all the animals for this. She is a hardworking, dedicated animal lover who has spent her life saving animals that many others don't even care about. We need more people like her, but since they're not stepping up to the plate to help, I'm asking you please to support her in these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. All right, that's all the people that I had signed up to speak for this evening. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak before we move on, just to make sure everyone has their say? Okay, what's your name? Okay, and what's your address, Sherry? Okay.
I just want to say, we had property, or just until a couple of years ago, on Emory Drive, which is only one street over from Jessica's home. And so on many occasions, I did not live there, but my son lived there. So on many occasions, I would go there and go by there just to check it out or whatever. And also during this time, probably about 3 or 4 times a year, I'll go by there and just drop something off on the porch just for the animals. I've never smelled any odor. I've never smelled anything there. When I'm driving by, I've never seen any loose animals. But I just wanted to speak up as someone from that neighborhood who has lived there since 1970, and my family, that we were not against Jessica in any way. So I would just like to go on the record to speak for her on behalf of that neighborhood.
Okay, all right, thank you. Did you want to speak? Okay. If you don't mind, sir, your name and address.
My name is Cliff Henderson. I live at 2021 Murray Avenue. I live a block away from Miss Piscata and her home. I just want to start off by saying, yes, we are a lover of animals too. We believe, if she is able to provide care, if one gets hurt on the road and she's able to provide care, by all means we support if she gives them a good life. The issue is the zoning. That's our main concern. And if y'all are able to provide her a variance for that zone, that opens up the doors for whatever else comes into the neighborhood. All our dealings with her has been nice, cordial. She's been very friendly. She reacts quickly to all of our concerns because we have Marley, the turkey, did get out a couple of times. It was back in a couple of years ago. My daughters were out in the yard and Marley came up and did start attacking my child. And from that day on, every time we hear Marley in the backyard, she would go back into the house. She was obviously she was a young girl and scared, which is no way to be in our own yard. We would call her, or not call her, but message her on Facebook, and she would respond immediately. And she was very nice about it and very apologetic. We did not call animal control. We didn't call the police, make a report. We just wanted to be good neighbors. And again, with the vultures, those vultures, we were associated with that house. Matter of fact, she named one of them Penguin. And the vulture came to our back steps. We called her. Again, she was very apologetic. She reacted quickly. They came and got the vulture and took it back to her residence. We're not here to try to cause any trouble. We really do support what she does. It's just the issue of when she started this rehab, it was a few animals. Nobody gave a concern about it. But now it looks like it's exploding. Even with the WALB report that we all saw, she had several deer in there. One of the deer, they were petting like a dog. I don't think that deer can be released back in the wild. They were hand watering a raccoon. You cannot release that animal back in the wild because it's associating humans now with food and water. But I'm not here to be critical of her rehab. My main concern is the zoning issue, and whatever support she needs, I'm sure the neighborhood, now that we're seeing that she is going to move the rehab center out in the county, they're more apt to help her. We were not able to help her right now because every time somebody speaks, the social media warriors attacks anybody that speaks up against it. And that's what we're concerned about with, obviously, she's going to get access to the emails. Are we going to have social media people attacking us on there? But now that it's showing that, that she is making an effort to move, people probably be more apt to help her. But that's my main concern with what's going on. We still want to be nice neighbors.
Sure.
We still want to be considerate of what she's got going on. And we hope, we wish her luck on her future endeavors with this facility.
Okay, all right, thank you. 1 minute, and then we got to cut it off because we have a full schedule of a meeting to go through. We've got, what we're hearing is kind of the same thing over and over and over. Okay, but no, sorry, we've got a full schedule.
I'm
of other
sorry,
city business.
and then I'm leaving. I apologize. I would like to address the gentleman that just spoke. And
No.
okay.
No,
All right,
ma'am.
I will not
No, we
like to.
can't do that, because
Okay.
then what happens is we open it up for a dialogue. You can
Okay.
only address the council.
Okay, well,
I don't need
may
rebuttal.
I address the council?
Not in rebuttal. You've made your statement, and we really need to move on. We've asked for a plan to be given, and I think that's, I think we've got to go on with the rest of the business of the city. You've got 1 minute. Go,
1 minute,
quick,
okay.
hurry.
My name's Elizabeth Cromer. I live on 205 26th Street, so just in the same neighborhood. Jessica has been my best friend and my sister for over 20 years. I lived in that house for a couple of years, and I love her and her family more than life itself. And I have helped her with these animals. I'm a paramedic in Tift County. She really does everything to a T. She takes this seriously. This is just not a nonchalant, just whatever kind of thing. And I just really feel that if people have such a problem, then maybe they should reach out and help. Maybe volunteer. And these animals can be released. Some of those deer are completely blind, so they do come up for pets. So yes, these animals, when they are small, they are hand fed. They are tubed fed. And that they're used to Jessica because Jessica is their mother. So yes, that is a normal thing in the rehabilitation community for these animals to be like that to her. As far as, the deer wanting pets, yes, because they feel like Jessica is their mother, and she has several deer that are completely blind. So.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up this discussion.
I'm done. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And
I'm sorry, at the last meeting, you said Astro, a representative from Astro was going to come to speak?
he is here.
He is here? Oh,
Yes.
okay, I was just waiting to hear.
Yeah, it's on the agenda. Okay, so Rob, you'll be getting a call from Jessica or one of her folks, and any other comments from the council at this point? Ready to move on to the rest of the agenda? Okay, all right, thank you all for coming. If you're certainly welcome to stay if you'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting. For those of you that didn't get to speak, I'm sorry, but we've got a full agenda and need to move on. Our next item is the old business, the resolution amending the 2025 budget for mosquito control. And wait till everybody gets out. All right, our next item is the 2025 budget amendment for mosquito control. And we had asked if a representative from Astro could come and speak. And so I'm going to call on Jake. Thank you for your patience, Jake, to talk to us about the proposal that Astro presented. And gentlemen, it's also, that proposal is in your packet as well.
Am I too close to this thing or not
You're
close
good.
enough?
You're
All right.
good. Stephen will adjust it up or down if necessary, so you're good.
All right, good deal. So on the behalf of the city of Tifton and requesting through our bid to put in on mosquito service, this service is no different than what the city would have had prior to many years. I guess it's been out of you guys' service for what, about 2 years now that you haven't
Well,
been
it's
getting
actually, it goes back even farther than that. The county used to provide mosquito spraying citywide and countywide.
That's correct.
And so it was actually the county that was doing it within the city, and then
That's
they
right.
opted to stop funding that, so.
Gotcha. So basically, the service that we're extending to offer back is no different than what we already had prior to. That particular service is done in the evening hours on purpose. That way, your pollinators, all of your beneficial insects are already done what they're going to do for that part of the day. They're already back to their resting spot and their nest. This is a contact kill treatment. It is designed to kill biting mosquitoes, midges, black flies, all the things that's going to be there in those evening hours that are all your basically insects that don't make your backyard barbecues happy. I mean, that's what that target is meant to be for. It's in those evening hours purposely for everything else to be at rest, not busy streets, everything else. So, I mean, when you follow the label for the MSDS and label that we followed or provided for you, if you follow that to a T, you're not going to be putting anybody inside of those harms or anything else for those products, warnings or hazards or anything like that. As long as you follow the label, which is the law, that's what our guys are trained to do. That's what we plan to do. And I mean, that product specifically, you can't really mess it up or mix it too strong. It's pre-mixed, already ready to put directly in a machine that's calibrated to run for your speed limits to offer that service. And I mean, there's really no mishap to go anywhere wrong with that.
Okay. Gentlemen, any questions you have? Anything else you'd like to add, Jake?
I mean, not unless you specifically got a question on it. I mean, that's pretty cut and dry. I mean,
Yeah.
that's.
I don't have any questions. Y'all have any questions? I think we're good. The information, again, gentlemen, is in your packet. It's pretty detailed on all the stuff, basically the data about the product. So I think we're good. I appreciate you coming in and sharing that information with us. So.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Jake.
you.
All right, Larry, anything else you want to add? Again, we're not voting on this evening, just discussing it. So anything else you need to add from a budget standpoint, or?
Well, yeah, it's $13,200 for this budget year.
Okay.
Which is 4 months, I think.
Right.
And they're only spraying 8 months.
Okay.
Or will be spraying only 8 months if it's approved.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that, what's that? $26,400 a year.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Any questions, gentlemen?
The county does not spray at all anymore.
I know that they stopped spraying within the city.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they spray the unincorporated areas or not. I don't know. They still do? Okay. 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 Okay.
Because
Gotcha.
we didn't want to pay for it at that
Right.
time. But,
Okay.
but they're still spraying.
Okay. So they are spraying Omega, Tata, and the unincorporated areas. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Since there's no other question on that, we'll move on to new business. And I'm going to call on Aaron with Ryland and ask him to come and talk about the proposed contract amendment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. I'd also like to add John to the agenda, please, if you're okay with that.
Sure, that's no problem.
We're asking that for amendment to the solid waste collection and disposal agreement, Amendment 5, for an extension of contract for the 2025, December 31st, 2025. That would extend on to December 31st of 2030. Now that would, we're asking that we keep the current rate as it is. And then we would ask for a CPI in July of 2026 and every year thereafter, July 2027, 28, and through on.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, you've got that information in your packet. Are there any questions for Aaron concerning that proposal? Again, we won't be voting this evening, but it's, this is time to ask if there's anything that you need clarification on or explanation for.
So the price stays the same monthly, but every July it could be subject to be raised?
For the CPI.
Yes. So typically, and most of your vendors would already be using this, to be once a year based on the Consumer Price Index, which is your Department of Labor number that's used for inflation. The standard way we do almost all our contracts, but Tifton, about 99% of garbage contracts in the nation run off it. ESG here would run off of that as well, so it's the standard way to do it. Rather than us determining, coming and asking for 50 cent or 10 cent, that the Department of Labor puts out inflation is 3.1% for that year, then that's what we ask for.
But if that's what you ask for, then that's automatically what you get, right? Because
Yes.
it doesn't have to come before us.
Yeah, it'd be part of the contract.
And we haven't had, I think we've had one CPI here. When we took this over in 2020, or into January 1st, 2021, it was a lot different world than now. We are under market on rate here now on what it would be if you were bid out, to be honest with you. For the service we provide, I think we have earned the right to ask for renewal. Aaron's done a great job, our staff has here. I don't think anybody would dispute that. We didn't even take this on a bid. We were asked to come over and take it over due to problems with the vendor. Those may not have been here, but the current vendor at that time. So we took it over without a bid. If you weren't here at that time, you may not realize that due to the issues. So we do like we've asked to earn the right renewal. It is a standard way it's done, industry-wide. With all your other vendors within the city, is also almost all of them are going to be on a CPI annually. So that's the reason we asked for that. Now, there's some things we can negotiate upon that, we could talk about, but inflation happens every year. We have to give our employees raises to be able to maintain the best employees. Things go up every year, so we do need to be able to address, to continue to have world-class service, we have to address the cost increases that happen constantly. So benefits go up, everything. It costs us about 40% more to do business right now, unfortunately, than it did in January of 2020. It's just the way the world has changed, and it's unfortunate. And I hope we have some positive trends in inflation, but it has been a lot in that last 4 years post-COVID.
It does note in the proposal, the addendum, that if diesel fuel prices drop, then that surcharge is removed. So that doesn't stay in place unless the price
right, that was
increasing.
Only the fuel surcharge. We just request one that fuel goes over $5, which is very unlikely.
Yeah.
But it can happen. It can be catastrophic for our type of company if fuel was to go in that type of spike. Right now, diesel fuel is like $3.40. Yeah. $3.40. So.
And I know, I guess it's just trying to sort of draw a parallel between that and the CPI. Things can rise and fall, and you're willing to rise and fall with that as long as the service is still good.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, gentlemen? And we all know how to reach Aaron. I know if there are any questions that come up, sometimes we think of things 2 days later. We can reach out to Aaron and ask any questions. Larry, anything you need to add to this?
Yeah, I would like to add that under our present contract, there is a provision in there where you can get an extension on the contract. So there is a provision in there for the extension.
Okay, so everything is compliant with the current contract that we hold. Okay, perfect. Okay, anything else, gentlemen?
Yeah, I just don't see we can't have a flat rate, and that'd be it. I don't understand. Since I've been on council, Ryland's approached us with another dollar increase, or we've done away with recycling. I don't see why the citizens of this town can't have just one flat rate. And
In
that's it.
perpetuity?
Sir?
In perpetuity?
Well,
So
I mean-
you work at the hospital, correct?
Sure.
Is the surgery now cost the same as it did 5 years ago? 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago?
Well, it depends on, what insurance the person has or whatnot.
Yeah,
But I
surgery-
get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
don't-
I understand
yeah.
inflation, but what I'm saying is, I gotta look out for the citizens. And I don't
Right.
want them to say, hey, we're paying this amount, oh wait, when July comes, we're gonna pay this amount. That's not fair.
Well, nobody looks out for these citizens like we do. We work extremely hard to serve
I'm
y'all.
not saying you don't.
We
I'm
work
just- I'm asking
extremely
for a flat
hard
rate.
to serve you well, but we got to be able to, once a year or every couple of years at least, some type of reasonable escalation up. I can't pay these employees the same 3 years from now that we do today. They expect an annual raise, adjustments. They have families to take care of. These employees are actually your constituents. They live here. So that is something that has to be done. Benefits, medical insurance that we cover, things like that all goes up. The longer they are tenured, the more vacation they get. Our costs continue to go up. Trucks are $410,000 now. Just 10 years ago, they were $300,000. So those costs continually rise. And so what I would love for everything that we have in this world to be flat right now and stay where it's at, but it's not going to happen. Inflation is, when my grandmother tells me in 1930 when she was a kid, she's still living, that she went to the theater on Saturdays with a nickel and bought a Coke, a hot dog, and saw one of them shoot 'em up Western movies. A nickel will not get you a piece of candy now.
No,
So we cannot stay static for 10 years. It's just not going to happen. And I respect, but we couldn't do that. Nobody could. No, it's not a garbage company that could stay static for 5, 10 years out there.
In your opinion?
Not in my opinion. Not make money. Maybe they can want to lose money. They could, but it's not an opinion. I know the numbers as well as anybody. They could not.
All right, any other questions, comments, gentlemen? Larry, anything else? Good. Thank you both very much. We appreciate it. All right, the next item is the bid recommendation for the historic downtown monument sign. Larry, I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, this is something the DDA wanted. They wanted a historical sign down at Forest Fullwood and Highway 41. There's a little island there. They wanted to expand that island and take away that little drive-through area there and make it just a bigger island there and put a historic sign, welcome to historic downtown Tifton. And they were thinking it wouldn't cost that much, but we just got the bids in and it was $125,000, and the DDA is not interested in pursuing that
Funding that,
anymore.
yeah.
So basically, we're not going to accept that bid, but
Yeah.
unless y'all want to, but I didn't think
Well,
we
this
would.
was,
So
this was, I know, something that they and the Tifton Heritage Foundation were very much behind, and it did come in quite a bit more.
yeah,
I
well,
know, this is your district, MJ, anything you want to add? I mean, if they're saying they're not going to fund it, then that kind of kills everything, but any comment? Okay. Okay. So basically, we're just abandoning the bid at this point.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
suggesting we not accept the bid and just kill this
Okay.
project.
Got it. All right, sounds good to me. Okay, the next item is the bid recommendation for the 18th Street ditch improvement, and I'll call on Adam Cobb to go over that information for us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
We're looking at a TIA project, one in this first run. It is the 18th Street ditch that's over there near the pub. Familiar with Tifton over in that area. What that project is to put concrete box culverts in place where there's now bridges. So this feeds a lot of the properties there, basically driveways and stuff like that, but it is ditch improvements to allow them safer access to their properties, but also allow the banks of the ditch to be a little more stabilized and stuff like that. There is going to be a concrete wall put in on the road side, the 18th Street side of that, to help the road be stabilized. And in with this project, there is some water and gas work that needs to be done. They'll be kind of damaged within the projects that they'll need to be replaced as we go through, which is good because they're also fairly old facilities. But we did receive 3 bids. 3 different bidders bid on this project, and we are recommending, as well as the engineer recommending, that we go with Southern Concrete Construction Company. Their base bid was $2,099,265.69. That is a little bit over the estimated price, but in with TIA, there's lump sums of money in there. There's a couple other projects that we may not get to because of the funding source, being pulled into these other projects, but it's okay because there is money there. So this is a TIA funded project.
And TIA is Transportation Improvement Act.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is improvement.
Okay.
For those that we speak
in all these acronyms,
That's
this alphabet soup of acronyms. Want to make sure people understand what that is.
But this is a 180-day contract for that contractor. So, and the reason it's so long is because there's going to be a lot of working with the property owners to get this bridge done so that these 2 can use it, and then do the next one so that they can share use and that kind of stuff. So it's gonna be a slower project because of working with the property owners so that they can get in and out of their homes and that kind of stuff along this area.
Okay. Any questions? I know this has been needing to be done for a long time.
Yes,
so.
I think we've been looking at it for, I've been here 16 and a half years.
Yeah.
I remember it from
I think it's
early
been
days.
on the agenda.
Early days, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions, guys?
The original TIA estimate on this 18th Street project was $1,869,000, so it went over $230,000.
Yeah.
But I guess that'll take away from.
And it was pretty neat when looking at the numbers. These contractors really sharpened their pencils on it. Because there's probably only about $200,000 difference in between them, which is really odd when you're looking at a $2 million project. There's normally a lot bigger variance there, but it was really close on all of them.
Okay. All right. No questions? Comments? All right. We're good. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. I'm going to call on our police chief, Chief Hyman, to discuss the proposed flock safety system. And I think he's passed out some information for us. Did you put this out today? Okay.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Council. You want me to start? Yeah. Okay. We've had a couple of meetings, Councilman Hall and Mr. Lawrence and myself, and then some of the detectives with Flock. And what I'm doing is I'm requesting the City Council approve to acquire and implement the Flock Raven and Flock Falcon system, which will enhance our response capability to gunshot incidents in key neighborhoods and school areas. To give you a little background, I pulled up the statistics from January to December, from January 1st, 2024 to December 2024, and we had about 438 calls were made to 911 regarding gunshots heard within the city limits. Some of those reported turned out to be fireworks, which is mistaken for gunfire, underscoring the challenge callers face in accurately identifying threats. Analyzing these calls revealed that 3 primary areas was noted, and that was like the Brookfield Mews area, Olomega Road, and Fair Lake Road. And so what we've done is, and to give you a little idea, the Raven through Flock is a gunshot detection. It's like sensors that's put out throughout the area, and when a gunshot goes off, it can pick it up, and it can tell the difference between the gunshot and firecrackers when they go off. And then Fitzgerald has it, Albany, we got, and Moultrie has it. Berrien County is looking at it, and then Irwin County and different cities throughout the whole state of Georgia has it. And then they can put you, after the gunshot goes off, they can put you within 100 feet of where that gun was discharged from. And this is on the laptop inside the patrol cars. So when it's detected, and that would be before a citizen could call it in, or before 911 would notify us and all. So then what we're trying to do is we also included in this the areas that we saw when I pulled up the gunshot calls for service, and I looked at the address. I tried to block them off in different. And so that's why we're looking at the Brookfield Mews area, the Old Omega Road, and the Fair Lake Road. And also, if you'll look in your packet, there's a map that you'll see that shows the areas that's gonna cover those 3 areas right there. And that's where the cameras will be and the gunshot detection. And what we done was we made sure that the areas encompass Geo Bailey on the Fair Lake side, Matt Wilson, and then we got Charles Spencer. So we got our schools inside those areas so that, you know, because the schools, somebody said there's a gunshot or something, schools go into total lockdown mode, you know, and they're down in it until we can figure out what it is. But this will help us to do that, to be able to do it. And we recommend the purchase and deployment of the following Flock system to improve the real-time detection, response, and investigation. The Flock Safety Falcon, the Flock Safety Raven, and then the enhanced LPR upgrade, and then their services for implementing it. But the enhanced LPR upgrade is like the license plate. I know y'all heard me talk about Flock license plate readers and that, like that. So but the detectives and officers would be able to see information instantly right there on their computers. The last time we had a shooting over here at 10th Avenue and 5th where the lady died, the Flock cameras that we already got, they caught the car that the guy, when he came from Sylvester to do it, and then they got him when he left. So it gave us the time frame, and it was during that time frame we were able to, last year when we had the robberies on the north side, right at 20th and 10th and all, the Flock camera that we had up that way picked that car up, and that's how, and they wasn't even from Tifton, and that's how we were able to solve it. So, but the financial considerations, the total is like, for the first initial cost is $116,000, and then there's a recurring annual cost of $116,000. And that's what we're here tonight, is to get approval to move forward on the recommendation. And because if it's approved tonight, we'll move forward with collaborating with the Flock, because it'll take them at least 3 or 4 months to put everything into place, because we got to get permits from DOT. We also got to get permits agreements with some people that have some private property that we will need to put sensors on. So what I'm shooting for is, I know we're looking at our next year's budget, but what we're shooting for is to go ahead on and get a agreement or with them so that they can start this, and then by the time the weather warms up for this summer or this spring, usually when it starts happening, we'll already be pretty much in place. So, but that's what we're here to get approval for. And MJ wanted to add something.
Yeah, I mean, I got to sit through a few of these meetings and demonstrations about the camera over in Fitzgerald. They rolled it out pretty nicely. They got to actually show me from his computer screen, one of the techs over there, how it actually shot goes off. They pinpointed almost down. They also got it so close to where they find a case. They said it's helped solve many different murders and different things like right away within a couple of days. And also, with that being said, a lot of all the surrounding counties are tapping into the system. And I think also he also mentioned to me that this system can also work across county lines. If somebody's fleeing to go one way, they can tap into those block cameras and they detect cars and stuff that are trying to get away from the scene. So I think, I mean, overall, yes, you know, we see the cost, and obviously if it's in the budget within the realms, I think it's a safety feature for the community all the way around, especially with them and the detect knowing that what they work and what they see every day. They kind of pinpointed the areas that they know that they work, and also all of them are around the school area. But I think it's safer. So, you know, new things come out all the time with technology. It's just another little gift that the computer, that the police can have to be able to run down things quicker. So I was just amazed at some of the stuff that how detailed this thing can actually get down to. So, you know, I see it, and I've heard success stories from other counties. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you for your work on that, MJ. I think that's, and yours too, Chief. I think that, and Larry, I think that's, anything we can do to make this community safer, I think it's a good move on our part. So,
Yeah, I think we're just trying to be proactive and, you know, protect citizens, particularly in these three areas.
Right.
You know, and gang violence in particular, you know, and you know, gun violence. And also the chief's been working with other cities, Albany PD and other local PD departments about gang violence and how they're interrelated. And
yes,
so he's also working on that also. But this here, we need approval now if we want to put it in next year's budget and they can proceed with it. So I think you're pretty much asking for approval if we can proceed to put that $115,000 in next year's budget and add this flock system. So
we can't vote on it tonight because it is workshop, but I don't think you'll have any pushback come 2 weeks from now. So I don't know if that's a hint.
Well, well, like Larry was saying, we have been making sure that Eric Webb and some of the other investigators, and we've started taking some of the other officers. We've been going to Thomasville, Albany, wherever the gang, because they got the South Georgia Gang Task Force,
right.
And we've been going wherever they meet. They meet once a month on Friday. We've been going, and some of these towns have the flock system, and we're able to put in information, and then so it's just like the other day we had somebody attempt to drive by, and then we were able to locate that car because Moultrie had already entered it into the system. So it
pretty impressive. Yeah, I agree. So go ahead and make those calls you need to, and then we'll make it official in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. And again, MJ, thank you for your time and efforts on that. All right, the next item is a discussion of proposed amendments to alcohol catering permits. I'll call on our esteemed City Clerk Jessica White to share that information with us.
We're going to hold off on it for a little bit. I got to get with Rob, and we need to
gather some more information. So
Okay.
hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have time to get it together.
Okay, no
And I
problem.
think we've been here a while, so.
Yeah, we have been here for a minute. All right, no problem. We can do that. Y'all good with that? We'll get that information next time. All right, city manager report. Larry?
Yeah, we had a wonderful Rhythm and Ribs
Didn't we, though?
festival over the weekend, and I particularly want to thank police, fire, and ESG, and all the other city employees that spent their whole weekend working out there. It's much appreciated because it was a great success. I don't know if anybody could count the people there, but there's more than 10,000 probably, I would guess. It was a great festival,
We think
great
there had
success.
been around 40,000 for the whole weekend.
Is that
You know, it's
right?
hard to tell
Yeah,
because
I
you don't know
couldn't
who's
believe
coming
it.
and going, but
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never seen so many people in my life.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. Other than the little incident we had on the private property a block away, we had 7 cars burn up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
We were not directing people to park there. That was
Yeah.
private property that people took
just
it upon themselves to park at, so.
Yeah, just a freak accident
Yeah.
that happened.
Yep.
That just happened, so, unfortunately. Also, last week there were several vehicle break-ins around town, but there was 2 arrests, and they recovered property and returned
Good.
that to the people, so that was good. Let's see, the landfill got a new water tanker used to keep the dust down, and also if there's any little fires out there, they put it out with that too, so it'll come in handy.
That'd be good.
The LMIG 24 paving, this week they're going to be paving Madison, Sanders, Berry, Sussex, Newton, Martin, and Old Creek. So they're moving along. But I think there's 46 streets that we'll be paving, and we're just working down the list and getting most of them done. Also, 3 streets, Tyson, Love, and Poplar, have water main repairs that'll be done first before we pave them. Those will be last on the list, I would say, and that probably a month or 2 away on that. Of course, we heard about the 18th Street Bridge on that. The Fullwood Park stage, we're going to start demolition of the old stage this week, and hopefully it'll probably be a 2-week process on that, and then they can start construction on the new stage.
Good.
And hopefully it'll be finished by the mid-August to September time range, so where it'll be available for future festivals. Let's see, the theater roof is supposed to be repaired here shortly. A contractor will be coming in to repair that. We received $155,000 in insurance on that roof, so I think his bid was a little more than that, but that covered most of it. It's going to cover most of that repair. The Magnolia Ditch project, they're waiting on a section of pipe. I guess the pipe that came in was not the right size, so they're waiting on that to come in where they can proceed on that. Let's see. Coming events, Main Street, we got First Friday coming up and Second Saturday. That's both this week. And the theater, we have a karaoke fest coming up March 22nd, and then the Play That Goes Wrong on March 28th and 29th. So we're excited about that. Some more activities downtown.
Good. Good. All right. That everything?
That's it.
That's a great report. Thank you. Thank you for that. Gentlemen, mayor and council comments?
I'll say kudos to everybody that's involved in Rhythm and Ribs, and we'll probably hear it 1,000 more times, but I really did an awesome job, and thank you to everybody involved.
I agree with MJ's comment. Job well done.
You're here. Mr. Franks? All right. Well, I'm going to wrap everything up very quickly because I know we don't need to go into executive session tonight, do we, Rob? Okay. Again, I just want to reiterate that with the comments tonight about Ms. Piscata and her animal rescue, nobody disputes the fact that animal rescue is important and that what she does is admirable and very much appreciated. However, not only do we represent Ms. Piscata as a constituent and as a resident of this community, we represent all the residents of the Tiff Terrace neighborhood, and we have to look out for all parties. And we are willing to work with her to the extent that the council is comfortable. This has nothing to do with whether or not we approve of rehabbing animals. It has to do with zoning. And we have zoning so that people can live comfortably in their property, knowing what's going to happen next door, across the street, down the road, 2 blocks away. That animal rehab would probably have been fine in a business zoned type area or a wholesale light industrial area, much like where the animal shelter is now. There's a reason that the animal shelter, which to me is the sort of ultimate rehab of the community, is where it's located. It's because it's zoned appropriately and there's space to do, and noise from barking dogs and potential smells from horses and goats they may take in and things like that aren't offensive to other people. So I don't want anyone to think we don't support the efforts that she does. It's the location of those efforts that have caused problems. I do know that code enforcement has visited several times. I do know that there have been things that have been done to try to work with her. I think she would dispute that. And I'm not going to get in here to name names and times and defend people and those kinds of things. But it's the zoning that is the issue. And so I want the community to hear that loud and clear. It's not the work being done, it's where the work is being done. So please know that we will try to work with her in every manner possible within the laws that we have to work with, within the desires of the constituents of these gentlemen that I get to work with. And then we will look at everything and make a recommendation that I think hopefully will be mutually beneficial and acceptable to everybody, with compromise and working on that. So Rob, if you don't hear from her, let's say by maybe Wednesday-ish, can you reach out and I don't want time to tick by. Okay.
Sure. What I intend on doing is sending her an email.
Okay.
And telling her that probably the starting point is go ahead and give me some type of business plan.
Right.
Where we can start working from it.
Okay.
So I kind of want to throw it in her park, give me something that that we can look at, and then we can work from there.
Sure.
So that's my plan.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Since there's no other business, I assume, to come before the council, is that correct? We are adjourned, gentlemen. Thank you so much.